Welcome to this episode of Living Gifted, where I talk about the beginning of realizing I have gifts, what the rest of my family looks like with their gifts, and a really impactful question from a listener that's along the lines of which came first, the chicken or the egg, but for psychic abilities. I'm excited to get into this with you, and so we begin. I knew pretty early on in my life about psychics, about gifts, about feeling energy, but we didn't call it any of those things. Many people in my family have gifts, and they look pretty different for each of us, but we would talk about them openly as if it was just something that everybody did, so it didn't seem that strange to me. For example, my mother knows when someone has passed on. She will have a dream about them, they will come and tell her things, or she will walk into a home and feel all the chills and know instantly that someone is present. When my oldest sibling was younger, they could sense, hear, see different sorts of energy around people or things, and they actually didn't love their gifts, so they kind of shut them down and shut them off. So they don't use them anymore. The sibling younger than me had amazing empathic gifts from a very young age. They couldn't see anyone in pain. They couldn't see an animal suffering. We took many trips to the vet with random animals that they would find and just be sobbing and holding the animal. No animal crossed over to the other side without them being there to guide them. And it was really an amazing thing to witness. And only in my adult life did I realize that that is rare and that not everyone feels that way towards other people and towards animals. And rounding out the group is my youngest sibling, and they could see, hear, and talk to spirit as if they were a physical being standing in the same room with them. When they were little, they would play with their toys with a spirit named Grandma. I don't know if it was our grandmother or if it was someone who presented themselves as grandmother to them. But they would spend a lot of time playing with spirit. They would also be afraid of spirit. When they were really little, they had trouble going down hallways. We had a long hallway from the front of our home to the back of our home, and they would stop and just scream in the hallway and wouldn't go through because someone was in the way. That was always really jarring, but it's kind of scary for a little kid to see a stranger in the house and want to go past them to get to their bedroom. And then there was me, and it wasn't surprising that I had my own gifts. I would just know things that I shouldn't know. I would see things in my mind's eye, not the same as my youngest and oldest sibling. I didn't see them as if they were standing in the room, but it's almost like an overlay to the world that we see now. And I can see pictures and people and activities and items. And I still do that to this day. It's actually one of my favorite gifts, is just being able to see things manifest in my mind's eye. I also have the gift of hearing. I can hear spirits, I can hear guides, I can hear songs and melodies and many other things. I can also sense things in my body that other people don't sense, especially if I'm doing a mediumship reading. I can usually feel in my body how someone has passed or what kind of pain they were in. Or if I'm doing a reading for a person, sometimes I can feel their sadness or their joy or their struggle. I feel like my gifts show up in a way that is appropriate for what the person needs. And that has always been a joy of mine. And one of my biggest gifts that has taken a long time to learn to balance is being an empath. I can feel, I can see, I can hear, I can sense everyone's feelings and everyone's intentions. And it was really hard to navigate that when I was younger, because you can't always understand why people do things, and they can't always explain it. So it's hard to want to show up for people when sometimes they don't want to show up for themselves. Or it's hard to take on someone's anger when you're not actually mad and you walk away feeling angry for the rest of the day. So it definitely took some time navigating how to release and let go of those things. So this episode is called And So It Begins. So all of that backstory feels really important to share with you so that you understand that I didn't know that what we were doing was different, or that other people didn't have these conversations with their family and talk about spirits or energy or feeling closeness to random strangers. I was around middle school age when someone actually said something to me about my gifts. They were asking someone a question or starting to tell someone a story, and I said, "Oh no, it was actually like this." And I can't remember what the story is, but everyone looked at me with wide eyes, and their first assumption was that I was nosy or that I had been reading something or looking into something about them. And it was a really humbling experience, and probably the first time I ever thought, I shouldn't say the things that pop into my head because people don't receive them well. Then when I was in high school was the first time that I clearly started to hear people speak. It was my freshman year. I was walking by the library, and in my high school, there was 2 hallways that went by the library, and the library was down like 3 steps, and it was completely open. So it was this open area, and I heard someone call my name 3 times, and I kept turning around, looking for somebody. There was nobody there who was speaking to me, and then they started saying other words. And I felt really surprised. I was confused, of course, because I didn't know where it was coming from. But the urge to continue looking for a person just sat really strong with me. Then later that day, I heard some more things. So the moment it clicked in that I could hear people, it just kept going. Later on that year, I had a discussion with my older sibling about being able to hear these things. I had shut everything down in middle school to avoid being different. It's the worst time to be different in middle school because everybody is trying to fit in. So when that happened, I went and spoke to my older sibling, and they were very open about their gifts and how they had stopped paying attention to it, stopped answering. If you hear something, you don't turn your head, you don't give it any attention so that it would stop. And they kind of taught me how to shut things down. So I started to shut everything down for the next few years. Right after I graduated high school, I had my first child. So I was a young mother, and it was like a door opened and all of my gifts came rushing back. The empathy, the ability to hear, see, sense, know things. And it was overwhelming. And I went out and I found a teacher, someone to help guide me through these gifts so that I could enhance them in some ways, but mostly protect myself from just having this flood of emotions or knowledge or hearing, sensing, feeling other people and their energy. It was really overwhelming for a while. But once I was able to overcome it, I realized and I could see what a gift it truly was. Then I started learning about other divination tools like tarot and pendulums and all the other cool things that are out there to assist you in your gifts. So I fell in love with tarot, and I mostly use tarot when I want to enhance my readings or get additional insight, and it truly is an amazing gift. I will have to talk about that more on this podcast, but it was very enjoyable. And it was something that I would do for myself, my friends, but I never really took it further than that. And it was just something that was very close and to me and my heart, and I just loved it. So from there on, I just did readings for anybody who would let me. I did them at parties. I did them whenever my friends were having trouble, for myself. And I started to teach other people how to read tarot and how to do energy work in their own lives. I was teaching a tarot lesson about a year ago, and I just realized that it made me feel amazing. I had a bunch of people come over to my house. I taught them all how to use their intuition and feel their intuition as they're doing readings, and it was life-changing for me. It filled me with so much love and joy, and I realized that this should be what I do for a living. So that's how I came to this part of my life. I know the meat was missing there in the middle, but we will get there with time on this podcast. Those are the things that I would love to share with you, and all of the weird interactions that I've had in between. Next, I would like to get to a question that somebody has submitted for this first episode. Before I do that, though, I want to invite you guys to join me on April 27th for an Empath Survival Bootcamp. This is, of course, in 2024. If you are after that, then I will probably have the recording up or the training available on my website at attunedivination.com. But what we're going to do is talk about navigating, protecting, and honoring your skills as an empath, how your empath abilities affect your day-to-day life, what you can do about that, and how to set boundaries for yourself and others so that you can enhance and honor your gifts. And all of this is happening over Zoom. So I can help you do this from the comfort of your own home, which to me feels wonderful. I hope to see you there. Today we have a question from a listener who asked, are gifts passed down from member of the family to member of the family, or are they taught? So it's that, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And for me, I think of it more as a nature versus nurture discussion. Are you born with a gift, or is it taught to you? Are you raised in an environment that encourages and nurtures your gifts? The easiest way to approach this for me is to say that we are all born with gifts. We are all born with that connection as a spirit to that spirit line or that energy line. What's different for you is what body you're in. So I am of the belief that you come here as a spirit and you are gifted a body on this earth. And the way that you interact with that body is taught to you from the adults that came before you. If you were raised in a home that talks about intuition, that talks about energy work, that talks about all of the clairs, right? Claircognizant, clairvoyance, and so on. If you were raised in a home that is open and encouraging of those things, you never build up these limiting beliefs or barriers or blocks around the idea of these gifts. And therefore, they feel more natural. So it appears that you have just come into this naturally and there is nothing holding you back and you were just born with these gifts. And usually it appears that way because someone who was raised in a home, because their parents told them to stop doing make-believe, stop making stuff up. They didn't believe the things that they said. They didn't believe the sensations. It was logic over emotion or logic over sensation at all times. And this is the fastest way to shut down someone's gifts. The same way as if you tell a child to not use their imagination or always to be looking for a logical solution and never come up with something new, that person feels limited or they don't feel creative. They don't feel like they can contribute something organic or new to the world. It is that way about psychic abilities. The beauty in both of those situations is that with a little bit of training and a little bit of effort, actually, I won't say a little bit, with a little bit of training and a lot of bit of effort, you can grow your gifts. You can grow your imagination. You can improve your connectiveness with your body's intuition, with your soul's intuition and gifts. You just have to figure out where your gift lies. Most people I meet don't even realize that their body is sending them signals. When you meet someone new and you feel this warmth in your chest of just pure joy and love, and you don't understand it, but you're really connected to this person, that is your intuition, that is your empathy, that is you connecting on an energetic level with somebody. On the other side of that coin, when you meet somebody that everybody loves, and you just know something is off about this person, and you feel it in your gut or you feel it in your back, this need to step away or get away from them, that is your empathy or your intuition telling you that this person does not have the same intentions or the same goals, the same desires as you. So you don't feel drawn to this person and the need to connect. The more you can tap into that, the closer you will get to understanding your gifts. And that comes with breaking down those barriers, rewriting some of the stories that you're telling yourself, about your gifts, about psychics in general. A lot of people hear the word psychic and they get nervous. They get scared. They get uncomfortable. They think it's not real and it's woo-woo and fake. But really all psychic means is connection, right? We're just connected to that mother line, that energy line, that thing that makes us all part of the one. And you can read that information. That's all a psychic is. Just a little bit closer, a little more open to that line. And all of us can do it. I am a firm believer in that. But that comes with training, that comes with practice, and that comes with an acceptance that this stuff exists. So I hope that answers that question, or at least begins to open the discussion to answering that question. And we will, of course, talk about things in that same vein as this podcast goes on. So if you take anything from today's episode, I hope you can understand and see that you are already part of the whole. You already have gifts growing in you, or you already have gifts that you've just kind of shut down. All you have to do is stop thinking that it's silly, stop believing that your imagination is wild and you shouldn't tap into it, you shouldn't listen to it, and you're already taking that first step towards tapping in. I also hope that this episode taught you a little bit about me and my past and how my life started with a family who was open to talking about it. That's why it seems like I have a jump start or I'm a little bit farther than everybody else. But that's just a little piece of me that I wanted to share with you. I want to thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope you will join me next time so we can talk more about these amazing topics. In the meantime, you can follow me on all the socials at Attuned Divination and interact with me and stay up to date on all the things I'm doing while I'm working on this podcast, Living Gifted. If you want to ask me a question that I can answer on this podcast for you, send an email to nancycs@attunedivination.com. And in the title, put Living Gifted question, and I will be able to answer that for you. For now, though, I'm sending you love and light for a wonderful week.